Hello everyone, welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There's my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with 0.7 millimeter HB lead. And there's my kneaded eraser. And here's my favorite paper to draw on, Strathmore Bristolboard 300 series with vellum surface. Now I love the vellum surface, it grips the pencil really well. Today, since it's Christmas, I decided to draw Santa Claus. Now, normally I don't draw holiday figures, but it's Christmas and everyone loves Santa. And also last week I draw Krampus and I felt kind of bad because I draw the demon, the Christmas demon. Now I got to draw the Christmas saint. So anyway, so Christmas or should I say Santa has a pretty crazy complicated history. He originated from various different people. He's partly based on Saint Nicholas, who was a 4th century Christian bishop, who was the patron saint of children, who gave away gifts and all that. And he was also originally inspired by Father Christmas from England, and even Odin. From the pagan god Odin, which is actually kind of funny. So anyway, so I want to draw Santa Claus, and the Santa Claus I'm drawing is a very basic classic figure. When I draw a character, I tend to draw them in a very classic stance, position, image. So I decided to draw Santa just standing upright with his belly out, holding a bag. And as you can see, I basically draw the head, and from there I just kind of scribble out the basic shape of the body. And now proportion-wise, I tend to draw, in real life, people are about six and a head tall. But with this figure, it's close, yeah, I guess about as close to the actual size. Excuse me. The actual size, which is 6.5 heads tall. When I draw superheroes, I tend to draw them in around like 8 heads tall, which give him a tall, heroic stature. But with Santa Claus, you want him to make kind of like this overweight, kind of roly-poly, very comfortable, fun figure. So the key to Santa Claus is he's a jolly fat guy. So I have this image in mind, and once I have this image in mind, my job is to translate that mental image, onto paper. And usually I don't get quite 100%. It's once you start putting it on paper, you have to tweak it and all that. So it's always pain because sometimes I have this crystal clear image of mental image in mind, and then when I try to draw it, I can't get it. But this one is pretty generic, so it's fairly easy. Now, Santa Claus, the Santa Claus that I draw is the Santa Claus that was basically, it's the Coca-Cola Santa Claus. To me, that is the classic Santa Claus. And those who are younger, who don't know this Coca-Cola Santa Claus, the Coca-Cola Santa Claus was created by Haddon Sundblom, who was this famous painter in the early 20th century. So he was a big commercial artist, advertisement painter. So he was hired by Coca-Cola to create that iconic Santa Claus advertisement where Santa is drinking Coca-Cola. And so for me, that classic image painted by Haddon Sundblom is Santa to me. And I guess the part of the reason I love Haddon Sundblom in general, his painting technique, is because he was influenced by John Singer Sargent. Now, John Singer Sargent is one of the greatest portrait painters ever, in my opinion. And so John Singer Sargent had this brilliant use of his technique is wet on wet paint. and he really didn't think too. He basically just the way he modeled things with paint was just absolutely incredible. There's a certain detail, the color, the detail, the drawing skills, everything. John Singer Sargent had it, and John Singer Sargent, to me, he's like a painting god. And so Haddon Sundblom was influenced by John Singer Sargent, and they both shared that really creamy, wet on paint painting technique, which I love. And Haddon Sundblom basically inspired the younger artists of that time, like Gil Elvgren, who is a famous pinup artist, and also Andrew Loomis, who is another brilliant illustrator. So that's the background. I guess that's the reason why I love Haddon Sundblom's Santa Claus. To me, he created the perfect iconic Santa Claus in my mind. The big jolly fat guy with with the twinkle in his eye, and So another funny fact. When Haddon Sundblom was painting Santa Claus for Coca-Cola, he used his friend Lou Prentice as a model. And as Haddon Sundblom got older, he started using himself as the model for Santa Claus. So, which I thought was just hilarious because as he got older, he got just kind of got that pleasant face, and the belly and all that. So I thought that was just hilarious when I read that Haddon Sundblom, when he got older, started using himself as model for Santa Claus. So this image came really fast. I mean, like I just like whipped through this drawing, and Santa, Santa has, when you draw Santa's face, you wanna kind of give him this like a broad, round, fleshy face, and he has kind of like a bulbous nose. So you need to give him like a bulbous nose tip. And he has this like really luscious white beard with kind of curly white beard. Again, all of this is inspired by Haddon Sundblom's depiction of Santa in the Coca-Cola ads. And so he kind of had like kind of a long, luscious white hair. So it is interesting. The more I read about Santa's history, the more interesting it is because there's so many different inspiration for Santa. I mean, I didn't realize that Loki. I mean, not Loki, but Odin was one of the inspiration for Santa, which I think was just hilarious. So in the original German folklore, Santa would would treat well-behaved kids, and Santa actually traveled with Krampus in the German folklore. And so while Santa gifted good children, Krampus would beat misbehaving kids. So leave it to the Germans to ruin Christmas. Now you guys are gonna ask me, how do you know how to draw the folds of the sleeves and all that? It just comes with practice. The guy that I really study when it comes to folds, drawing folds and drawing regular people in suits and shirts and all that stuff is Al Williamson. Al Williamson was absolutely incredible artist depicting this very heroic, graceful people in everyday clothes. So Al Williams was directly influenced by Alex Raymond, who was the original artist on Flash Gordon, and later Rip Kirby. So another interesting fact: Al Williamson was almost became the assistant of Alex Raymond when Al Williamson was in his 20s, and unfortunately, Alex Raymond died in a tragic car accident in the I guess in the mid 50s, no, or late 60s. I mean late 50s, around there. And then John Prentice took over, and John Prentice was another fantastic artist who drew exactly like Alex Raymond. And the funny thing is, later on in the 60s, Al Williamson became apprentice assistant to John Prentice. So it's kind of funny how everything connects. And and John Prentice took over Rip Kirby, and then Al got the job drawing another Alex Raymond's old creation, Secret Agent X9. So I got hold of Rip Kirby by Alex Raymond collection book a while back when I was a kid, and also Al Williamson's Secret Agent X9 in college, and they just blew me away. I mean, like because of those two guys, I'd be just I learned how to draw the folds and clothing and all that on regular people, no spandex, you know. So if you want to learn how to draw like regular clothes and stuff like that, realistically, look at Al Williamson on Secret Agent X9, or Alex Raymond on Rip Kirby. Actually, there was a sequence story in Secret Agent X9 where Al Williamson drew this great depiction of the secret agent, and that to me was like the closest I ever saw of James Bond on paper. I mean, just the lighting, the mood, and everything. Al Williamson just absolutely nailed it, and I kind of wish that he would have done a James Bond newspaper strip or a comic book. I think Al Williamson would have nailed it. So there it is. I'm drawing the pants. So Santa Claus had this kind of baggy pants. So drawing the folds. Actually, one artist that you should stay away from, which I got nothing, nothing good to say about, is Bern Hogarth. Bern Hogarth art book. Just stay away from Bern Hogarth. He was absolutely terrible. He was an absolutely terrible artist who really didn't know how to draw. So he gives a lot of really bad art tips and art guidelines and stuff like that. So I would recommend you guys stay away from Bern Hogarth. He's a terrible artist. Now, if you really want to learn how to draw comics, as I said in the last post, I would look at John Buscema's How to Draw the Marvel Way. That was that was literally the Bible to me growing up. John Buscema just really broke down how to draw comics, how to draw figure work, how to create these heroic figure poses and stuff like that. So John Buscema is just absolutely another art god to me. So at this point, I'm just kind of like outlining, darkening the outline, and drawing the folds, drawing the bag in his eye, and the little creases, and the laugh line, the crow's feet around his eyes, and the laugh lines. And since Santa has this rosy cheek and nose, rosy cheeks and nose, I decided to kind of like give it that little bit of color and erase the highlight on the tip of his nose. Drawing his bushy eyebrows. Yeah, you should give Santa like a big, bushy, whitish out eyebrow. Don't make it too big. Don't make him look like a mentat from Dune. There's that big old mustache. So in his beard, I like to add a little bit of a curl to kind of give it that more volume. And that hat. Actually, I almost drew Santa Claus fighting Lobo because I remember that comic. That came out when I was in I guess when I was a kid in college. Or was it high school? I don't remember. But Simon Bisley did a great, just absolutely funny comic book where the Easter Bunny hires Lobo to to kill Santa Claus. And the way Simon Bisley drew Santa Claus was just was just so funny. It's just a really buff, like a bald headed, basically a biker gang. And so he and Lobo, they have a big knife fight at the end. So I almost drew that because I'm such a big Lobo fan. Who knows? I may still do that later on. Just have Lobo fighting Santa in that goofy comic. So adding that little bit of that scribbly line to give it the illusion of a fur. So I always, like the one of the debates that I had was when I was drawing Santa's hand, should I just put him in mittens or should I give him gloves? I decided to go with gloves because, to give you guys, show you guys how to draw hands. Adding more texture to the fur. Oh, thank you all for the for suggestions. I've been getting a lot of great suggestions since I got back from Japan. A lot of you guys want to see me drawing more kaiju's, these giant monsters, and I think I may actually draw the battle, the war of the gargantuans, and because they're just so goofy looking monster. I mean, I love goofy looking monsters. You know, they're just so fun, and other suggestions. And some of you guys asked for like really obscure characters, so I'll try to find out what the character looks like. And but if usually I'm a bit of a nerd, so I know a lot of the characters. But if I don't know it, that means it's pretty obscure. So then I'm just kind of like putting highlights on the belt. You want to, draw a big bag, but don't want it too big. And you want to kind of give it a hint of stuff in the sack. So I went with more straight lines because, there tend to be like boxes inside the sack. Just adding more highlights to the cheek. There's the pants that is tucked into his riding boots. Just darkening the outline of the figure. So if you guys notice, once I draw the figure, I tend to go in and like really reinforce the outline. It just makes the figure pop more. That's something that Alphonse Musha would do. He would basically draw these beautiful figures, and then he'll like outline it in this really thick line. Just makes everything just pop. Now, again, if you want to learn how to draw boots, especially those Buccaneer boots, look at Al Williamson. I mean, Al Williamson did the Star Wars newspaper strip for George Lucas, and he would draw the most awesome boots. I think because of Al Williamson influenced George Lucas on Star Wars and how Han Solo looked. So I thought that leg was a little bit too short, so I erased it and kind of lengthened it. So again, don't worry about erasing. If you make a mistake, that's fine. This is just a pencil stage. So as the old saying goes, if it looks right, it's right. If it looks wrong, it's wrong. And if it's wrong, go ahead and erase it and fix it. Don't be so precious with your drawing. If you see a mistake, just go and erase it, especially in this stage, especially in the pencil stage. That's what pencil stage is all about. It's just, you're just kind of like, just creating. The act of creating is a messy process, but it's also a very fun process. So if you make a mistake, don't worry, just erase it and fix it or start over. Again, don't be too precious with your drawing, especially at this pencil stage. Now, inking stage, yeah, you want to be careful, but this is just a pencil stage. This is a stage that you should have fun. Actually, pencil stage is the stage that I have the most fun because I'm just like making a mess and just drawing, just having fun, just putting down shapes and outlines and stuff like that to see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then I erase it. Yeah, again, if you want to really learn about just people in realistic clothes and how the clothing folds and stuff like that, I recommend looking at Al Williamson stuff. He is absolute master of that. So I'm just kind of smudging things along just to kind of give it a kind of a soft tone. But, that's what Santa's about. You want Santa to be like warm and fuzzy and kind of like that. So I'm kind of adding in highlights. Adding more texture. Santa's always fun to draw. I mean, this is jolly fat man. I'm just adding shadows, stuff like that. Just make sure the figure looks more three-dimensional by adding those little shadows. Just kind of erasing stray pencil marks. Just reinforcing some lines. More texture. There I am erasing the highlights in the boots. Again, look at Al Williamson stuff if you want to learn how to draw boots. More highlights. And there it is. There it is. Santa Claus. Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a safe holiday.